Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. It is amazing the difference that one single model can have for a brand's identity, for their reputation and for their position in the marketplace. Formex have been making watches in Switzerland since 1999, so over 20 years, and yet I freely admit I hadn't heard of them up until 2 years ago when they released their Essence model. And I'm guessing I'm going to stick my neck out and say that it's probably the same for most of you as well. I think that Essence has transformed the brand's prospects really, and I think transformed their sales figures as well. I've seen plenty of them popping up on people's wrists on Instagram, and well it might, it's a fantastic watch. I reviewed the regular 43mm stainless steel version about 2 years ago and I really enjoyed it. It's a handsome, well-made watch, doesn't look like anything else on the market, and it was packed full of innovation and technology. So much so that I bought one of their Leggera, the super light carbon fiber versions of the same 43mm diameter dimension watch last year. It has become a staple in my collection. You're probably sick of seeing it on Instagram. I refer to it as my posh G-Shock, usually found on my wrist when I'm wrangling one of my bicycles or occasionally when I'm wrangling my 3-year-old nephew. Not without moans and niggles though, 43 is on the upper edges for me. The fact that that carbon one weighs next to nothing offsets the size in some ways, but it's not going to be for everyone because of that diameter dimension. And I know that the logo was also somewhat controversial, a little bit 1999 if you see what I mean. Well, it seems that Formex are listening to their customers. Not only have they revised the logo for this and future models, they've also released a smaller 39mm version of the Essence that I have on my wrist in bright emerald green today. Now, you saw the pop-up. This is one of these semi-sponsored videos. I bought this, I paid for it, same as I had done with the Leggera last year. I've also got a reef from them, their new dive watch, on the way, but I did get a discount, so take from that what you will. As always, don't just take my word for it. There are several other reviews of this watch popping up on YouTube at the moment, and it is just as impressive, I think, as its 43mm bigger brother. I've still got a couple of complaints though. Let's flip the camera and get on with it. So a fairly straightforward review today then of the Formex Essence 39, and there it is. I will be including lots of outdoor shots. This is a very well finished watch. Bracelet's great, lovely case finishing, and the dial looks crisp, it looks sharp, it looks really good in natural light, so I'm going to include plenty of outdoor macro to try and convey that on video today also. And I will be bringing the 43mm Formex Essence back a little later on for a comparison when it's time for the wrist shots. If this one is very much about size today, if the 39's USP is that smaller diameter dimension and smaller overall dimensions, then it does make sense to have a look at the two side by side and see how they wear on me. These two have made a cameo appearance on the channel before. I included both of them as a side-by-side comparison when I did the Oris Aquis 41.5mm video a couple of weeks ago. It seems to me that Formex are following a similar pattern to Oris did with the Aquis range. They launched the 43 first, then the 39, and then the 41.5. Does that mean that there is a gap in the middle here? Are Formex going to release the 43, then the 39, leaving a hole for the 41 as a future release? More on that later. Oh, and straps. Lots of straps. Formex were kind enough to send me all 3 of the different leather strap options that are available for the 39 currently, in addition to the bracelet. Having said that, I think the green one is a slightly older version. The current version that they will be shipping with this watch has that stitching down the edges, whereas I've got a slightly older version of the green. You get the idea in terms of colour anyway. But before I get on to the inevitable strap fashion show, let's start by talking about price. Just under $1,400 US for the 39 on the bracelet. You don't have to go for green, by the way. I've talked about 2021 being a year of colour for me, so I definitely went for the green, but there are some slightly more sensible versions of this if you were going for a more discreet daily. About $100 less if you go for one of those 3 leather strap options. So with an increase in price tag, we're pushing north of $1,000 US with this one clearly, comes an increase in expectation, and I was expecting quite a lot of this little watch when it arrived here in Sydney, and it hasn't really disappointed. I think this is on par with anything else I've reviewed At or around that price, we're looking at kind of top-end Christopher Ward, Longines Conquest, maybe some of the Montas if you want to stick to a smaller brand. I think this one has certain technological innovations and inclusions that set it apart from some of those others. I will show you those over the course of the video. So 39mm in diameter, a smidge over 10mm thick, compact 45, I measure it as 45.2 lug to lug, 20mm lug width. Now the first couple of links on that bracelet, it's a great bracelet, they taper down to about 17 and a half, therefore at the butterfly clasp. Sized up for me, this one, 7-inch wrist coming in at just under 140 grams. So it is smaller in diameter dimension, but it's still got a bit of heft to it thanks to its all stainless steel construction. So 316L stainless steel case crown, fixed bezel and full stainless steel bracelet, solid end links, solid links with screws. I'll show you the bracelet in macro in a minute or two, and a butterfly clasp, double security pushers there. It's a friction clasp on the other side. And one of the innovative elements of this watch is a little flip-flop adjustment on the bracelet. Kind of like the Rolex EasyLink, gives you about an extra 4mm, useful on a warm day. If your wrist begins to swell up, you've got a little bit of adjustment here without having to get the screwdriver out. Case finish is excellent. Super fine horizontal brushing on that mid case and a lateral brushing on those upper lugs. And check the chamfered edge. Not only does it run all the way across the top surface, it also runs all the way across the bottom surface of that mid case. I have not seen that before, I don't think. Unguarded crown with a new Formex logo. It's kind of twin F made into an X, and a fixed high polished bezel. Well, I say fixed, it's not really fixed. Let me show you the first of two, what I believe are patented systems in this watch. The whole case is suspended. You can see the case and the crown moving up and down here. I guess another feature, if you wear this one particularly below the knuckle, I'll pop in a bit of on-wrist footage when I'm outside here. This is really where this suspended case comes in. If you wear it below the knuckle and you're flexing your wrist around, you will get a little bit of extra comfort there. This watch really is all about the comfort. There's a number of features designed to ensure that it fits you as best as it possibly can, and that suspended case is one of them. And as much as the leather straps are nice, the bracelet is the real standout for me here. Again, that's super fine brushing to those upper surfaces, and there's a little high polished edge to both sides here, blending in nicely with the high polished edge to the case itself. Covering the dial, it is of course sapphire crystal, completely flat with anti-reflective undercoating, and that is a push-pull crown giving this watch 100 meters of water resistance. That's the kind of minimum you'd expect for a kind of sporty tool watch of this type. But let's get back to macro and let's have a look at the dial. Pretty much a carryover from the 43, i.e. double applied batons at 12, single applied batons everywhere else, and a little truncated half baton down there at the 6 o'clock to make way for a date complication. Now, big scallop on either side of that date, and it is a black date wheel, which I think goes nicely with this green dial. Carryover handset, quite a slim, elegant, tapered handset with a needle second hand. No loom on the second hand, but plenty of loom everywhere else. I'll put the loom video in now. BGW9, quite elegant, slender hands as discussed, and quite elegant baton indices. I've had no problems getting a good read on this one, and the BGW9 does last and last and last through the night, no problems at all. New Formex logo, that is a brushed applied logo in stainless steel with the word Formex in a new font printed underneath in white. Essence and chronometer, because of course this is a chronometer grade Swiss automatic movement in the back of it, and Swiss made down there either side of that date window. There is a Riho chapter ring with printed minute track, enlarged minute markers in white around the outer edge of the dial. The whole dial has a metallic finish, vertical brush with CNC machined horizontal lines etched into it. Those lines are etched individually, and it is all super crisp and super sharp, as you can see under my macro lens. But what of this chronometer movement? It seems to me that Formex are playing the field of the Swiss movement manufacturers. The first Essence that I looked at had an ETA 2824. My Leggera has a STP 111 fully skeletonized top grade chronometer version. This is a Sellita. So we've had ETA, STP, and now we're on to Sellita. This is a Sellita SW200. Again, it is the top grade fully decorated chronometer spec version. That means you get a 26 jewel hacking and hand winding bi-directional winding 4 Hz high beat Swiss made auto that runs no faster than 6 seconds per day variants and no slower than -4 seconds per day variants. This one pretty much spot on, coming in +1 second per day. on the default flat in its back position with a very healthy amplitude and 0 beat error. That's why you pay the extra for a chronometer grade movement. So how does it wear then? Well, in short, it wears very nicely. Super flat, super flush on my wrist, just a little bit of downturn from those lugs. 140 grams is fairly substantial for this size of watch, but it is distributed evenly between all of those lovely bracelet links and the head of the watch. Plus, don't forget, if you do wear it below the knuckle, you've got that suspension system, and on a hot day, you've got that flip-flop adjustment as well. And that's the overhead shot. In terms of legibility, it is a 39, but it does have a fairly small dial diameter because of the kind of 4 screws that help with that suspension system and because of the longitudinally brushed bezel that does eat into the dial space. I'll give you a comparison with one of my other watches a bit later on. But while we're doing wrist shots, let's do a comparison between the 39 and the 43. Obviously, it's a bit apples and oranges because this one's on a rubber strap and the 39 is on a bracelet, but that should at least provide you with some frame of reference about the difference between the two sizes on wrist. But let's have a look at some of these leather strap options. Green on green, I guess there's an argument that if you're going green then you should go all in. I think, as I said, this one is a slightly older style of leather strap. It isn't the same as the other two, but you get the idea anyway. Really, this is what we're interested in when it comes to the leather straps. This is the second patent involved in this watch, the suspension case being the first, this one's the second. Again, lovely finishing with the Formex name and the Formex logo etched in there. Little double carbon fibre pushers and a carbon fibre deployment clasp. Now, if you're one of these people that is always between holes on a leather strap, fear not. There's a little pusher here. You push that in and you can adjust not quite a centimetre, but certainly the majority of the distance between two holes. So again, you always get a good fit from the leather straps. And that's the green one on wrist, enough green to keep even Kermit the Frog happy. Now obviously when you take it off the bracelet you shed some weight, cuts it down to just over 80 grams from just under 140 grams. You also shrink the watch visually, I think, as well. There's the same amount of taper from 20 to 18 on the leather strap as there was on the clasp, but it certainly takes a little bit of the visual bulk away from this watch. Not that it was particularly visually bulky in the first place, to be honest. And that's the green with the brown strap. Nice grain leather here, very soft, compliant and comfortable. I like to do a bit of tonal mismatching, mix and match, whatever you want to call it. I don't mind mixing a different colour strap with the different colour dial. I think it adds a bit of extra visual interest and it suits this watch overall. Or if you're a bit more conservative, there's always black, though quite why you'd buy a green dial watch and put it on a black strap, I have no idea. Maybe the black strap is more suitable to some of the other colours of the watch. So handsome, innovative, well-engineered, well-machined, and a good set of specs on it. But I did say I had a couple of complaints about this one in the intro, and I do. Under macro, the hands could be finished better. You can see the rough edges. Not really something that's going to bother you with the naked eye, but certainly something that I could spot under macro. No such troubles on the indexes, and the dial was beautifully machined. Those CNC machined lines and the vertical brushing was lovely, but definitely a few rough edges to that minute hand especially. And those leather straps are nice, but why no rubber strap version? The rubber strap is one of my favourite parts of my Leggera. It takes the comfort up another notch again. I don't know why they haven't added a rubber strap option for this one. They do it for the big guy, why not for the 39? Perhaps that will come at some point in the future. And the price, I think $1,400 is reasonable for what you're getting here. I think it compares well with the peers that I mentioned earlier on. But why is the 39mm $1,400 when the 43mm chronometer grade version is $1,260? $140 more for a smaller watch. Surely, if anything, the bigger watch uses more materials, it should be more expensive. The only difference I can see between the two is the new branding, the new applied logo on the 39. I do hope this is not Formex trying to squeeze their prices north already. And similarly, why did they only launch the 39 with a chronometer grade movement? Why was there no non-chronometer grade option like there was with the larger 43? The 43 with the standard movement was around $800 US. I would love to see one of these launch at around that price point as well. That would open this watch up to a whole new market that isn't prepared to spend more than that psychologically important $1,000 US line. And then let's finish where we started by talking about size. Size is of course to an extent subjective and very much a matter of individual taste, but I think this is quite a small 39mm if you see what I mean. Obviously it measures 39mm in diameter, but it looks like a small 39 because of that narrow dial aperture, especially because there's an angled rehaut chapter ring and that quite broad sloping bezel in the other direction. Let me bring in my 38.5mm Omega Seamaster Aquaterra. Which do you think is the larger watch visually? Which do you think looks like the larger watch? To me, the Omega looks like the larger watch because it has a much larger dial aperture and bigger hands. So a lovely watch, the 39, and I have no doubt that it will find a lot of friends, a lot of fans, a lot of people who prefer that slightly smaller watch will end up with these and be delighted. But for me, there is still something missing. There is a watch in between these two that would be my perfect essence. If I go back to my original review, I was channeling my inner Skilo when I said, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good, I would call her. I wish it was a little bit smaller. 43, it still wears fine on my Joe average 7-inch wrist, but I would adore this watch even more if it was a 41, maybe with 20mm lug width. And I would still dearly love them to make that 41mm version with 20mm lug width. That would be the perfect essence for me. So there you have it, the Formex Essence 39. If the 43 was just a little bit too big for you, I think this one is going to find a lot of friends, a lot of fans, a lot of wrists around the world will be soon adorned with one of these. Bit of a surprise therefore that they've gone straight for the chronometer grade version at $1,400. Why haven't they launched two different versions with two different movements? A regular grade Sellita 200 for around $800 or $850. I think that would have found even more fans and even more sales as a consequence. Also a bit surprising that they haven't done a rubber strap version as yet as well. Rubber strap, a real doozy, definitely my favourite option on the 43. I would love to see them add that over the course of 2021 for the 39mm as well. I would also love to see them add a 41. Come on Formex, you've done the big one, you've done the small one, do the one in the middle, make Joma very happy indeed. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in a future video.